LiberalViewer presents.
So the quick apprehension this week of Faisal Shahzad, the man accused of planting an SUV bomb in New York City's Times Square, and the subsequent serious criminal charges filed against him by the Obama administration, didn't seem to be quite enough for our friends over at Fox, as you can see beginning with this clip.
Thank you, Steve. The man wanted in Times Square in the Times Square bombing case, looking now at some serious charges.
We anticipate charging him with an act of terrorism transcending national borders, attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction, use of a destructive device during the commission of another crime, as well as assorted explosives charges.
But could he also be charged with treason?
And to answer the question about treason, Fox News brought on their legal analyst Peter Johnson Jr., whose legal segments always seem to tend toward the superficial and melodramatic, and as I expected, his analysis this week seemed to have more adjectives than facts, as you can see here.
I know you're advocating this. Why should he be charged with treason?
I believe that when you have a person who allegedly commits, and according to the Attorney General, he's admitted committing the most loathsome, despicable, vile act that an American could perpetrate on another American, that it rises to the most heinous crime called treason, which is laid out in Article 3, Section 3 of the United States Constitution.
Well, at least he correctly cited the article and section of the Constitution that defines treason, but the legal analysis of this Fox News legal analyst glossed over important constitutional limitations on the charge of treason, which Fox News literally edited out of the Constitution, as you can see in this clip.
Did he levy war against the United States? Did he give aid and comfort to our enemies? Based on his admission of putting these 200 pounds of fertilizer and M88s and propane and gasoline in this van set to explode in Times Square, he has, in fact, committed treason.
Now, not only do the legal definitions of terms like levying war have complicated legal histories, but one of the biggest complications in a treason prosecution is the requirement that Fox News literally edited out of their quote of the Constitution, which should also include a sentence saying, quote, "No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court," unquote. And not only do the legal definitions of terms like overt act have complicated legal histories, but in fact, because of such complications, treason prosecutions are pretty rare, and I doubt the Obama administration will add that charge here, where there are so many other serious, easier-to-prove charges available, which is why I think one point of this Fox News analysis is to try to set up the Obama administration to look weak when it decides not to pursue a treason charge, and that suspicion is supported by Peter Johnson's argument right here.
If the federal government and the Attorney General blow it off and say, well, no, that's not really worthy of it, what is worthy of it? What is worthy of it?
No doubt
crime?
many people will be debating that after watching this segment.
I hope so.
But beyond misrepresenting the full extent of the constitutional requirements for a treason prosecution to set up the Obama administration, another point of this Fox News analysis, I think, was to target the suspected bomber for being an American citizen and to promote a false legal distinction between citizens and non-citizens I've seen a lot on Fox News, including the misinformation you can see at the end of this clip.
And in an issue like this of such national import, the Attorney General, I believe, the Justice Department needs to look carefully and consider in a political way and a legal way whether or not he should, in fact, be charged with treason.
Obviously, he could not be charged with treason other than the fact that he's a U.S. citizen, which confounds many Americans. How could a U.S. citizen think about doing something like this to their own country?
Correct.
But that's not correct, because, in fact, treason only requires an allegiance to the country betrayed, not citizenship, a fact easily available in several Supreme Court cases, including the case of a Russian citizen who cooperated with a rebellious southern state during the American Civil War, about whom the U.S. Supreme Court said, quote, "He owed allegiance to the government of the country so long as he resided within its limits and can claim no exemption from the statutes passed to punish treason or the giving of aid and comfort to the insurgent states. The law on this subject is well settled and universally recognized," unquote. And this false Fox News claim that only American citizens can be charged with treason is kind of the flip side of that other erroneous argument I often see on Fox News that only American citizens have constitutional rights, an argument also popular with Tea Party conservatives that I debunked in my video earlier this year titled, "Sarah Palin Says Only Americans Worthy of Rights," but you don't have to go back to February to make that connection, because the day before Peter Johnson gave his erroneous analysis to Fox and Friends, The show had on Tea Party hero and Fox News commentator Glenn Beck, along with Fox News' senior judicial analyst Andrew Napalitano, to specifically make that erroneous flip-side argument that only American citizens have constitutional rights, as you can see when the subject of giving Faisal Shahzad his Miranda warnings came up here.
Where they give him the Miranda warning between the moment of incarceration and the time he sets foot in court this morning is something we may never know.
How's your blood pressure on that?
Actually good. He's a citizen of the United States. So I say we uphold the laws and the Constitution on citizens.
But he's a threat to the country. That's different.
So are a lot of citizens of the country. If you're a citizen, you obey the law and follow the Constitution. He has all of the rights under the Constitution.
Right. And while I applaud Glenn Beck for sticking up for all the rights under the Constitution for this accused terrorist, it was pretty clear from his emphasis on the citizenship aspect that even though Glenn Beck was right on this one narrow issue, it was all part of his inexplicable need to deny basic human rights to non-citizens, as he made clear less than a minute later in this clip.
He's a citizen of the United States. If he's not a citizen of the United States, I disagree with the judge. The crotch bomber. I'm still using, wet towels over him.
Now, despite that argument for waterboarding non-citizens, I'm not going to rehash the whole argument I made in my earlier video about how the Bill of Rights doesn't even contain the word citizen because it protects the rights of all persons, but I will respond to one frequent comment I got to that video, pointing out that the U.S. Constitution doesn't protect the rights of everyone everywhere on the planet, which is true, but that's just a question of jurisdiction, a question of where the protections of the Bill of Rights apply, not to whom they apply, and it also doesn't explain why so many conservatives want to deny basic human rights to people arrested in American airports, which is why I'll ask that same question I asked at the end of the earlier video. Is it really conservative to oppose the traditional American belief that every person is endowed with certain inalienable rights? Or, to ask the question in another way, why is there such a need among some Tea Party conservatives to exaggerate the specialness of being an American citizen?
YouTube, you decide.